Come join us on May 17th and 18th. Jay Martin, CEO of Cambridge House, will be hosting the Vancouver Resource Investment Conference with former Prime Minister of Canada Stephen Harper and Felipe Calderon, the former President of Mexico, as guest speakers, and over 100 macro finance keynote speakers, including myself, 225 commodity investment opportunities, and over 5,000 investors. There's a chance to meet in person, share ideas, and see how the world is being redefined. Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. As happy as one can be. At least it's a bright and sunny day. Tough markets, a very tough time ahead. We've been talking about it for quite some time. Austin, how are you doing today? I know you're happy, but also feeling a little bit under the weather because Calgary won, which congratulations, Calgary, the other night.
Yeah, hopefully they can take care of business tonight and get through to the second round and continue a good little run that they're on. So that would be very exciting. But yeah, as you mentioned, it's some tough and turbulent times in the markets out there. But we always talk about the opportunity that creates, and also the reasons you need to be kind of resolute and resolved in times where it gets a little choppy and a little challenging like this.
Yes. So, I mean, resilience is the theme for today. And, we called our program, the course that we made, the market model mindset. And I mean, it's a cute 3M kind of title, but the mindset thing gets overused a bit because people talk about mindset all the time. But it is so important today because how you view this turn down is important. And having the right mindset, having resilience, and also having faith in the positions that you have is paramount, because if you're on shaky ground, if the foundation isn't strong, it's gonna crumble under the weight of bad news. And there's no shortage of bad news. I mean, we've been talking about it for quite some time, and we try to put some levity on it and not too intense. And that this isn't a show right now today to talk about all the troubling things, but it's just to remind people that kind of where should they position a lot of this. And we're going to bring up some articles and some quotes and some things that kind of puts things into perspective, perhaps a little bit, some about the markets, some just kind of more in general. But give me your kind of thoughts so far.
Well, I think it's important to kind of stress and understand that, like, this shows that like downward pressure on the market like this, whether it's, we can talk about whether it's intentional or unintentional or the cause and effect relationship, but any kind of pressure like this is always going to expose bad businesses or poorly run businesses. But ones that have good fundamentals, are sound, real projects. So I mean, a lot of what we look at is commodities and stuff like that. But real projects that are hitting milestones are going to be able to weather the storm, bounce back. I mean, a great example of that is Desert Mountain Energy, who were down pretty big to start the week and rally back a bit to kind of end the week. And that's a company we always talk about as being fundamentally very sound. So I think that's the really important thing for people to kind of understand and wrap their heads around is you're gonna get exposed if you're in a bad company or a massively overvalued company. But if you're in a strong position with a well-rounded group running the business, then there's still great opportunities to grow regardless of what the market itself is doing.
Yes. And I mean, we're in a way, everyone kind of, I hate to use this term, but everyone's in this together because just about everything's down except energy, oil and gas is definitely some big wins still there. But across the board, a lot of great companies are doing great work. They're down 30% in the last month. And people, aren't reaching out that much to say, hey, Andrew, what's up? Because they know everything. It's across the board. Gold is down. I mean, the things that should be support or should be kind of going up a bit aren't. And it is the first time I can think of where literally across the board, everything is down except, and the ones that should be up as well, like fertilizer should still be up because there's food shortage. I mean, that's coming. Yeah. We know that's coming. We also know that they want to do this shift to electric. That's still maybe it's shelved for a couple of months, but that's still coming. So, this maybe gives a chance to people that are going to lose some money in really overvalued stuff. And I never like to rub it in, but, for years I've talked about FANG. I'm certainly not disappointed. I feel bad for people because they have it in their portfolio. If you own like a U.S. equity or you own a BlackRock fund,
Yeah.
you're going to own FANG. It's just going to be in there. To me, I have zero interest in those companies, not only because their political ideology and the kind of way they work is not something I want to fund. So
Yeah.
I look for, we're lucky our portfolio, although down, is not as down as some others. But that's because we've handpicked the companies that we like and that we work with and that we see a lot of hope in. But that's because I have the luxury of looking at this all day long, and I get to talk to CEOs all day long, and that's our job. It's very different if you're just, a passive investor, or you're getting more excited. And what's happened in this market is, and we'll get into the younger group, is people got very excited about what can I do with my time when we've had this global lockdown, and a lot of people got stimulus checks, and boom, a lot went into the crypto NFT kind of stuff, and that certainly is getting punished really hard as well.
Yeah, and that kind of segues perfectly into a couple of Warren Buffett quotes that I'd picked out. If we could get these two up, the first one is talking about, unless you can watch your stock holdings decline 50% without becoming panicked, you shouldn't even be involved in the stock market. That's a great quote from Warren Buffett that I really liked, that I thought was kind of poignant today.
And that's great because he's missed some tech stuff, and he openly kind of states that, it's not his thing, but he is your kind of quintessential fundamental investor. He buys cash flow. He looks for those types of things. So for him, he's resolute and he's very resilient because he knows things will bounce back. And unless you're on the side of that, we're in a complete global meltdown and it's a complete catastrophe, which I guess there's a probability of that. I think that there's a lot of incredibly smart minds. You're not seeing them on TV, and they're not politicians, that are working behind the scenes to orchestrate a recovery of some kind. Because this isn't a win for everyone. It isn't like someone's making out like a bandit right now, except for shorts. The shorts they're doing just fine, and that could be a lot of hedge funds, but. I do believe that that in the last crashes and downturns, we've recovered a lot faster. There's a lot more tools to be used, but this is important because someone like Warren Buffett knows fundamentally he's got something that's, if it's cut in half, okay, it's not only will it come back, but I'll get it at a cheaper price because he's got complete confidence in his model.
He does, and it's a good way to look at really kind of breaking it down and understanding. Okay, you know what? Everyone's going to go through this kind of stuff. Whether you're a hedge fund with hundreds of millions in assets, or you've got a couple grand in a Wealthsimple trading account, you're probably experiencing some similar pain right now. And that's it goes back. We talk a lot about people's risk tolerance and stuff like that as well. That all has to factor in together. But when the market kind of rides like this, everyone's sort of on this roller coaster together, whether we like it or not. And then to kind of go back to what you had said earlier about a lot of new people getting involved in the market, a lot of kids getting interested in crypto and stuff during lockdowns. Great quote here, saying you're dealing with a lot of silly people in the marketplace. It's like a great big casino and everyone is boozing. If you can stick with Pepsi, you should be okay.
It's kind of like, it's like you're in Vegas, you're running around, and if you join a table and you don't know who the other players are, then you could be the sucker pretty quick, like playing poker. The people kind of joke around that if you don't know what you're up against, you don't know. That means you're the one at the table that's going to be taken. And it's true. A lot of people are there for the fun. A lot of them are for their lulls. A lot of them almost seem to be there to post their losses and think it's fun. And in a weird way, that's a great mindset because there's more to life. There's more to life than that. We get a little bit too wound up here, and it's part of our culture and movies and all that all that matters is money. It doesn't at all. Don't get me wrong. It's very nice, and there's lots of fun things and lots of good things you can do with it. But it brings up a very serious problem that you've seen every crash before, a lot of suicide. People get into situations where they're like, they lost their house, this and that. And the only way out seems to be to give up everything. And we even see that now. There's an article in the New York Post saying, crypto investors panic amid digital meltdown. There's one crypto, I actually hadn't heard of it before, but what's it called here? It's Oh dear. There's one that's gone down 90 something percent right now, and it's totally wiped people out. And Luna, it's called Luna.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. So, and there's people that it's down 20% last week and nearly 60% lower than its all-time high. But it's heading to zero. And this is what happens. I mean, and not to pick on crypto, but that caught the imagination of a lot of people because of the imagination of the story, of the ideology behind it, that it's going to be this decentralized future, which is not going to happen. And if you're buying a ideology, I gotta caution you. Like, you're up against forces that are absolutely not going to allow you to win. It's that simple. I mean, there has been no clear indication of that than the misinformation and propaganda that's been out in the last couple of years. That's them playing nice. Now imagine if you're, if you go outside of their sphere, they're not going to play nice. So it isn't that they've created a world in which you can create money, print money, and organize people. And that's the job of these higher up groups, is managing the world. They're not going to hand it over. It's just simply, and it doesn't make any sense. So if you're believing in this strange utopian ideology, then that's what you've bought into, and it sounds exciting and fun, but it's not realistic. And that's kind of my problem I've had with some of the coins that have been sold on that belief system, that you're buying a lifestyle and you're buying an idea that, quite frankly, can't come to pass. That doesn't mean there's lots of crypto that have lots of interesting smart contracts and applications that will be used absolutely in the future, and we'll see a bounce back in that as well. There's going to be this integration of a lot of different uses. It's just, you got to shake out a lot of the garbage, and we're seeing that across the board. And also, I just kind of want to say that a lot of times people have to sell out positions. Like, I've seen people have to sell out positions they don't want to sell out, because they might be leveraged into something they thought was safer. They might have sat in Facebook and they thought, no, I've got Facebook, but I got a margin call. So guess what? I have to sell my Desert Mountain Energy. I've got to sell another one that I don't necessarily want to. And that puts a downward pressure on everything. So that's what we're seeing. And these kind of losses, what really matters is that resilience, because you're going to learn a lot more in rough times, and you're going to grow a lot more in rough times than you will when things are just going great.
Yeah, you're going to learn a lot more. And it goes back to kind of what I said earlier about, it's going to expose bad companies and stuff, but that it will expose kind of your own methodology and your investing practices as well, if you can't take the strain of that kind of pressure that you're being put under in a certain, whatever kind of market pressure situation you run into. There's another great quote here that I think kind of goes along with what we're talking about here. And it's from Seth Klarman. And it says, if we can get that one pulled up there, it just says that the stock market is a story of cycles and of human behavior that is responsible for overreactions in both directions. And I think that's really important in this kind of time as well, because you do see, like we said, fundamentally sound companies that are really solid getting beat up, or, the downward pressure from having to sell something because you got a margin call over here and something you perceived might have been safer, which could have actually been massively overvalued. And as these massive swings and overreactions happen and everyone starts to panic in one direction, it creates that momentum. And then the reverse of that coming back the other way, when there was times when like Uber and Lyft and companies like that were incredibly overvalued. It's the exact same kind of overreaction moving in a completely different direction.
Yes. And I mean, it's a good indication of society as well. And we see we're total chaos. I mean, quite frankly, it really is. And I think anyone logically and reasonably would say that's occurring. And whether or not you think it's this big global plan, this World Economic Forum type of approach, or whether you think it's just, just the market, or it's just this, or it's politics, we all know that between the lockdowns that went on for the last couple of years, what's happening in China right now, where we see total lockdowns of cities, and it's pretty violent. It's pretty awful. And we see also the war in Ukraine, which could escalate absolutely as well. and you almost have some people in the States pushing to escalate it, and without picking any sides on any of that kind of things. Those types of things put a huge amount of pressure on people that have been, not too dramatic, traumatized the last 2 years, shutting down the world economy, and then pretending that they didn't shut it down and that they caused the inflation, they caused the supply chain issues. They caused this. I mean, this was caused by those running your countries right now. It isn't Putin. I mean, that Putin's war with Ukraine doesn't make things any better, doesn't make it any easier. But all these problems, we've been talking about it before then, and they're coming to fruition. So it's shown in a weird way, and I'm trying to keep away intent or politics out of it, that the system we had was not working, and that we need to look at better solutions, and we need to work to resolve these solutions at home first.
Yeah.
That's the if you can't solve your problems at home, you have no business trying to solve it for some other country.
Yeah, and I mean, you kind of nailed it there with the whole Putin's price hike thing, which you see kind of being tossed around in mainstream sort of circles. That is some of the cringiest stuff I've ever heard in my life. Like it really kind of does open your eyes to the fact that the people in power, the people who you should be responsible for causing this, whether you're in Canada like us and you've got the Trudeau government, or you've got the Biden government, or even like, I'll be honest with you, not like the Trump administration in the States was doing much better than, I mean, Biden's obviously kind of ran the thing even further down the hill even faster. But the establishment, the leadership group in whatever country, and you can see the same thing, Boris Johnson's government in the UK, the extent to which they assume that we're all just idiots is it's incredible. And that's what, when you hear them saying things like, well, this is because of Putin, it's not. It doesn't make the situation any better. But I mean, you really are just assuming that we have no idea what's going on when you're just going to try to chalk this whole thing up to Putin bad.
Unfortunately, they know it works. They don't have to do anything other than say that enough. And then, I mean, I'm going to hear it from a certain type of person all day long, and they won't know why. Why do you hate Putin? And I usually get the same answer, and they're not exactly sure why. But that's how media works now, is you don't actually have to provide any evidence. It could totally be BS. And then the most people will just go ahead because they like XYZ presenter who'd offered them the information. And unfortunately, that's the way our system was established. Like we had a very high trust society at one point. We don't have that anymore. I mean, it's long gone. But you should be questioning everything that someone says to you at this point. And if you want to, my kind of opinion is, if you want to have an opinion on something, the days of being civil are over. You better do some work. I'm not as nice to people as I used to be, because I'm tired of hearing things and someone just either spits out something that they've never read before, they've no comment on, they've never studied. And I think you're parroting ideas that are completely wrong, and you have no background in them. You're actually part of a problem. If you're really interested, you're really curious about a headline on a topic, do some legwork, put in some effort, go find out. And that's the same thing with the market. And what the problem is that that's what we're seeing in the market, is this massive confusion, massive chaos. And unfortunately, a lot of people just thinking that they could just jump into a stock, make some money because everything's going up. And that's a bad plan.
It is. And, the kind of cap it off with this quote that we have up here from Benjamin Graham, talking about an individual who cannot master their emotions or ill-suited to profit from the investment process. And you kind of made a great point there, that in a time like this where things are more polarized than they've ever been, and there's a lot more division, and we've gone through a ton as a society and as a world kind of community, it becomes very difficult to keep your emotions in check. But if you can't, you have to be reminded to come back to that point. You have to think with your head over your heart in these situations, because if not, you're going to make a mistake, or you're going to stray away from your model or your game plan, and it's going to hurt you more in the long run.
Yeah, and there's something impressive about someone who is going through a lot, and if it's your first time, or it's the 50th time, that can go through it with a bit of, I guess, grace is the best way of putting it, where you can start your day off with the right mindset to say, hey, the markets are down. We've expected this. It's coming. I don't know when they're going to turn around. But does that mean my day is now wasted? No, I'm showing up for today. I'm showing up for my friends and for my family. I'm going to make the best out of this day. And there's the things that I can control are what actions I can take to further ready myself, educate myself. If it's high inflation, guess what? I should be buying more of, like, say, food that I can store today, not because that there's going to be massive starvation in North America, not because of some big massive conspiracy like that. Although, let's be frank, there's going to be massive food shortages worldwide in some other countries. It is just that if you can get it for a little bit cheaper today, it's going to be more expensive tomorrow. So there are little strategies that one can do and try to keep your head clear and to work through this and know that, hopefully there's some big brains out there that are looking to get us through this situation and move us forward for the betterment of all. And that's a very kind of hopeful, wishful thought. But there are lots of people, lots of really bright people that have certainly a lot more information than I would. And I love to research that would be working behind the scenes right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And that's the important thing as well, is it's keeping that mindset in check and constantly reminding yourself of that is extremely important.
And the last thing I wanted to jump on too was an article that came in the LA Times too. And it sounds a little bit silly at first, but it's about and kind of crypto, but it's the same for anything, is that some people, especially young people today, they're checking their phones all the time. So they're looking at their crypto and it's down, or it's up. And I even know for myself, if I spend all day looking at the different companies we've had, say, in the last year or two, I can allow my day to be affected by, hey, everything's up, it looks great today, and I have the time of my life. I feel like, we're up X%. What a day. You feel all those emotions. You feel like the sense of pride. You feel you're jacked up. And part of your brain goes, oh, that's great. You should feel that way. Then when it goes down, you feel negative. That happens too often. You condition yourself that your day is now reliant on outside issues that have nothing, that should have no correlation.
Yeah.
Whether that market goes up or down, it affects your bottom line, it affects your finances, but it shouldn't not affect how you show up for the day, and you show up for your work, and you show up for your people.
Yeah. And that, you know what, it goes to the kind of last quote that I had there. We don't even need to put this one up on the screen, but it's from Peter Lynch, and it says, you get recessions and you have stock market declines. If you don't understand that that's going to happen, then you're not ready. You're not going to do well in financial markets. If you don't wrap your head around the concept of, hey, there's going to be really good days and there's going to be some really bad days out there, and you're going to have to weather the storm through all of it, then that's the most important thing, I think, to keep in the front of your mind when you're looking at any sort of market, whether it's crypto, whether it's commodities, whether it's kind of the more mainstream NASDAQ. It's that you still have to remember that fundamental principle.
Yes, and there's companies now that have moved back that are excellent entry points for people that didn't pull the trigger before, that are looking for companies that are going to be part of this big change coming forward, this new way we're shaping the world. To make no mistake, these big companies, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, World Economic Forum, the UN, they all work together. They've told us flat out what they're looking for. They're allocating money towards green solutions. This is a chance for you to kind of get on board with that. And we've talked about the pluses and minuses with that, but they're going to be deploying money, and there's going to be opportunity to make money back in those things. So this is a very difficult time, but it's a matter of keeping your head clear, formulating your plan, looking at those ones that have a longer term duration that are going to make some money, and there's a good chance of turning things around. And we've been talking about it for a while. Is if you're not paying attention right now, you will fall behind, and that's the unfortunate thing. And most people will, because they don't have a lot of interest in a lot of this stuff. They just don't. Or they're just too busy, and they don't, even if they had interest, it takes a lot of time to keep up with the amount of news flow that comes out. But for those watching, hang in there, and the markets will turn around. It's just a matter of time. And we feel strongly in the positions that we have, and the theory we have, and the thesis we have. And come join us if you're in Vancouver on Tuesday and Wednesday at the Vancouver Resource Investment Conference. We'll be there in person. There'll be lots of people there talking about different ideas. And although it will be a bit more somber than I was hoping it was going to be, it's still great to be around people and ask some huge commentators on what their take is. And I think being around similar, like-minded people like that there's something to that that's very consoling or commiserating. It's a very good experience.
Like almost like we're all in this together or something like that.
No, because we're not all in this together. It's just very small. There's only some of us are in this together. So, but that's what I look at our job as being, is that we're trying to convince people, and I really am, to look at mining and to look specifically at, a lot of North American projects, because it avoids this the issue of supply chain. So companies that are dealing with supply chain issues and in the forefront as a management style, and being able to get these critical metals, lithium, vanadium, rare earth, all these things that even the Biden administration says these are critical. We need to get this. There's an article just today in Reuters where the Biden administration is asking, can they go and start funding mining operations in Australia? Like, they should be doing that as well in Canada. Like, we should have that door flung wide open, and embracing this as a resource country that could pivot us towards the future as a full-on energy transition company. Why we aren't is beyond me. I suspect it's because of who we've got in charge, but someone's got to come in here and give this country a bit of hope. And that's where this starts. Unfortunately, it shouldn't be, but we do have a marriage of business and government that, and it's always been there, but it's been a very, very heavily influenced lately.
Yeah, so massively amplified. I think that's a great little teaser for your presentation at VRIC as well. So we're definitely looking forward to that. So yeah, if you're in Vancouver, make sure you come down and check it out. It's going to be a great time. We're really looking forward to it. I'm excited to get out there next week. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Check it out. I believe on Tuesday at 1:00. You can check the agenda on the Cambridge House VRIC website. I believe I'm presenting at 1:00, so I'd love to see you as well. Heckle, ask questions, whatever. I don't mind. It'll be fun. So, and that's the thing. Try and find something to smile about today and have a bit of laugh, because this is going to go on for a little while. And the best thing you could do is just think of the positives that come with this negative strain, is that it builds a stronger foundation within yourself, a core within yourself. And that is the most important thing, is how you face these challenges now. You'll look back and be prouder on that if you face them well.
Couldn't have said it any better. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the YouTube if you're not already. Make sure you're subscribed to our website. Check out the message board on there. There's lots of great content on there. I love making fun of Jim Cramer, so I do that quite frequently. But yeah, thanks again, guys. We're looking forward to chatting to you again soon.
Take care, everyone. Have a great weekend.